So in this video, we will look at the effect of national emergency on the powers of legislation. So during normal circumstances, the union cannot interfere in legislating on subjects in the state list. However, during the emergency, the president can make laws on any of the subjects listed in the state list. So we know that the subjects of legislation have been divided into union list and state list and concurrent list, and they have exclusive power over union list and state lists. That is, the union government has exclusive power over the union list and the state governments have exclusive power over the state list. However, during an emergency, the president can make laws on any of the 66 subjects listed in the state list. So the president can issue ordinances on state subjects if the parliament is not in session. So if the parliament is not in session, the president can issue ordinances on state subjects. This provision extends not only to the states where the emergency has been imposed, but to all the states. I repeat, this provision extends not only to the states where the emergency has been imposed, but to all the states. So in case of a national emergency, the president can make laws for any state within the country. All money bills, including that of the states, are reserved for approval by the president. So during a national emergency, all money bills, including that of the states, are reserved for the approval of the president. So generally, the money bills of the states are reserved for the approval of the governor. But during a national emergency, all money bills, including that of the states, are reserved for the approval of the president. The state legislatures themselves are not suspended and they can also make laws. However, the laws made by the union will take precedence if there is a clash between the different laws made on the same subjects. So even the state legislatures will continue to function during a national emergency and they can also make laws. However, the laws made by the union will take precedence if there is a clash between the different laws made on the same subject. Let's just take an example. Now let's say a particular commodity is being taxed at 28% in a state during the emergency. If the union passes a law saying that this will be taxed at 15% instead of 28%, the union's law will take precedence over the state's enactment of such a law. So the union's laws made during the emergency will take precedence over that made by the state legislatures. Also note that all laws made by parliament on state subjects during an emergency becomes inoperative after 6 months after the emergency has been revoked. So if an emergency is revoked, then such laws made by the parliament on state subjects will expire after 6 months. So this is about the effect of legislation when an emergency is proclaimed. Next we will look at effect on financial relations. So during a national emergency, all money bills need the approval of the president. We have already seen this. The president can modify the existing distribution of revenues between the center and the state as earlier decided by the Finance Commission, subject to Parliament's approval. This modification of revenue continues to stay in effect till the end of the year in which the emergency has been revoked unless otherwise given by law. So what we are seeing is that initially the Finance Commission actually decides how the taxes are to be distributed between the states and the center. However, during a national emergency, the president can modify the existing distribution of revenues between the center and state as he sees fit. Of course, this is again subject to Parliament's approval. The modification of revenues continues to stay in effect till the end of the year in which the emergency has been revoked unless otherwise given by law. So this is about the effect on financial relations because of imposition of national emergency. So how many times has the national emergency been imposed till date? So as of now, the national emergency has been proclaimed 3 times. The first time this was done under Nehru. So this was between 1962 to 1968. So there was Chinese aggression in the northeast frontier province, which is now on Arunachal Pradesh, which led to the declaration of external emergency. It remained in force throughout the 1962 war with China, which India actually lost. In 1965, there was an India-Pakistan war. The emergency that was declared in 1962 was still not revoked, and it continued to remain in operation through this war as well. We won the 1965 war, by the way. It was finally revoked in 1968 by the Indira Gandhi government. So in a way, the national emergency actually existed from 62 to 68. This was imposed during the 62 war, and especially during the disturbances that we saw in Arunachal Pradesh by the Chinese forces. The second imposition of the national emergency came from 1971 to 1977. So the Indo-Pakistan War of 1971 saw the liberation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. An external emergency was declared, which was in force for almost 6 years. Then the mother of all emergencies was from 1975 to 1977. So this was declared by Indira Gandhi. Even while the second emergency was active, that is the one from 1971 to 77, the Indira Gandhi government declared an internal emergency, that is an emergency due to internal disturbance. So as you see, the two emergencies before this was external emergency. One was due to war by China on India. The second one was war by Pakistan on India. The third emergency was declared even as the second emergency was in progress. But the third emergency was an internal emergency, and it was proclaimed due to internal disturbance. So it was only using the 44th Amendment Act of 1978 that the Morarji Desai government would modify the wordings to armed rebellion instead of internal disturbance. We have already seen this before. So there are 3 instances of the national emergency being imposed on the country. So the first one was between 62 to 68, the second one was from 71 to 77, and the third one was from 75 to 77. So one very interesting feature is that during all of these 3 emergencies, Indira Gandhi has been in power fully or partially. This is a very interesting point to note. So this concludes our discussion on national emergency and the president's power to impose national emergency on the country. Next, we will be looking at the president's rule and the powers associated with the president with regard to the president's rule. Thank you.